I wanted to talk just a little bit about the poetry project. The idea for this would be to approach a poem that has some substance to it. Shel Silverstein is great, Jack Prelutsky, wonderful, but the reality is a lot of their poems don't quite have a deeper meaning to them. And what I want you to really look at is poems that have some sort of a deeper meaning that you can interpret. Um, there are three documents here. The first is the poetry cover sheet. You will need to fill this out for your project. You will need to indicate who wrote the poem, the title, where you found it, if the music, if it's copyrighted or public domain, and then any images you're taking off of Google, you should keep listed here under number 6 as far as the link that you found that information from, and then any biographical information you have about the poem, and then the poem in its original format, realizing you might want to do some tweaking to it. As this is a summer class, I would encourage you not to look at a really deep and long poem. Um, you know, Langston Hughes, Walt Whitman have some great poems, but some of them tend to be a little long, and that might be a bit challenging for this project and the timeline. There is a copy of this available to you. It gives you some thoughts about where this is coming from, um, and then some basic steps to how you might want to go about this project. Um, and then when you get to the bottom of this page, you will find the rubric that I'll be grading this on. So I'm really looking for multiple things. Using multiple modes, so your graphics, images, text, audio, and your special effects. How are you animating this? How's the timing? Can I read everything on the screen? Am I able to read because the colors match as opposed to one color being washed out by another color? Which leads into this layering of modes. If you're putting together in this level of proficient multiple modes to send a coherent message as opposed to your modes don't work together, which would be a novice level. I'm also looking for imaginative transmediation, which you're going to read about. There's literal transmediation where, if the poem is talking about a bee, you have a bee in there, versus imaginative transmediation where you're looking at the major themes, symbols that you can use to represent that may not be a one-to-one match with the actual text. So how can you take the poem and put your own spin to it? Especially if you're considering, there was a student this past semester who accidentally, she hadn't intended for this meaning to be there, but she found like some meaning within the poem that she was reading that was more related to her religion and the Easter season that was upon us at that point. And she didn't initially intend for that to be there, but once she saw what she was doing without thinking about it, she thought, oh, this does make sense. And then you will be turning in a paper with this, and with that paper, you're going to be linking some of the texts that we've read. And so a proficient person will refer to at least 5 references in the reference list and use those within the paper. And then moving down into this next spot, quotations that are purposefully selected. You're developing your ideas versus what you've read about and how all of that's put together. Spelling and mechanics are only worth 5% of this grade, but I do expect the paper to be an APA style. And your cover sheet that I pointed out first, if you do not submit that, that's a 3-point deduction, absolutely. And I may give some partial credit. So then if you go back to what I have here, I have multiple examples of people who have done very well in this project in the past. Some of them have a mix of literal and imaginative transmediation. A mix is fine, but I'm really not looking for direct links between the poem, the text of the poem, and your pictures. You should really think about what is the deeper meaning, what is the theme of this poem, how does it relate to your own life, and share that. So there are multiple examples here for you. Most of them have the paper attached with it. for your viewing enjoyment. Please let me know if you have any questions.